Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Trump neck and neck in battleground Arizona and Pennsylvania. And voters in Pennsylvania say their top issues are the economy, abortion, immigration, and the state of democracy, also inflation and the cost of living. One Pennsylvania incumbent, locked in his own tight race, re-election, says that his and his fellow Democrats' focus will be on keeping prices down.
Huge corporations that have been benefiting from huge corporate tax breaks that Republicans passed. Those same corporations jacking up prices, their profits going up 75%, 5 times the rate of inflation. We can hold them accountable, but we also have to help families with the cost of child care. That's why the child tax credit is enormously helpful to pay for food, child care, and rent. So we got to continue to fight on this front.
And new this hour, VP Harris is making stops in North Carolina later today. She will meet with black elected officials, faith leaders, also community members. The VP also plans to help volunteers prepare supplies for Hurricane Helene relief. First Lady Jill Biden is also out stumping for VP Harris today in Phoenix. Tim Walz is in Minnesota, J.D. Vance in Pennsylvania, and Trump is speaking in Las Vegas and then Coachella, California. We're going to have a report on that in just a moment for you. Tomorrow, former President Clinton will hit the trail for VP Harris. He'll be campaigning in Georgia and North Carolina, while next week, former President Obama will be in Arizona and Las Vegas. Governor Walz today is at the annual Governor's Pheasant Hunt in the city of Sleepy Eye, Minnesota. Friday, in an interview with a Pennsylvania local TV station, he talked about the Harris campaign's outreach to men voters.
We need to make sure we're getting out to them. We hear what they're saying. We understand that they're concerned, too, with issues, whether it's climate or health care or reproductive rights. Men care about that, too, but messaging in a way that we're hearing them. These are folks that want to make sure they're able to get a good job, be able to buy a home, get a good education.
Our reporters and analysts are tracking all of these developing storylines for us, and we're going to begin with NBC's Ali Rafa at the White House. So, Ali, who are the big names Vice President Harris is enlisting to help on the trail?
With the polls still neck and neck in this final stretch till Election Day, we're seeing the Harris campaign dispatch what my colleague Kelly O'Donnell has appropriately dubbed these super surrogates to these key battleground states to try and sway these still undecided voters. And this past week, the case was with former President Barack Obama, who used his influence as the country's first black president to help Harris appeal more to specifically black male voters. This is a group of voters that we've seen in poll after poll show that they have expressed an openness to voting for former President Trump, as well as simply a lack of enthusiasm for voting in general. And the former president, when he was campaigning for Harris in Pittsburgh a few days ago, called on these men to reconsider sitting out on the sidelines in November. He called on them, he called them out rather for thinking that former President Trump, in his words, is a, quote, sign of strength. And he also suggested that some of them may not be comfortable with a female president in the Oval Office. Take a listen to some of his comments.
You have someone who has consistently shown disregard, not just for the communities, but for you as a person. And you're thinking about sitting out? I've got a problem with that. Because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly now, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that.
And sources familiar with Obama's thinking say that this is going to be a major focus for him right up until Election Day, that this is very personal for him, and he's going to continue this Get Out the Vote tour that he is embarking on, heading out west, as you mentioned earlier, this week, heading to Arizona as well as Nevada. And the Harris campaign is also going to be using another former president, using former President Bill Clinton to reach out to rural voters, with Clinton heading out to Georgia as well as North Carolina this week. The big question, though, is whether they will make an impact. And if they do, how much of an impact will it be? Will it be enough to actually move the needle in these final days before the election, Alex?
I guess we'll see. And speaking of heading west, as I thank you, Allie, we're going to go now to North Las Vegas, Nevada, where NBC's David Noriega is joining us. David, another welcome to you. Talk to us about the significance of Donald Trump coming back to Nevada today. And what is the strategy behind his participation in this Hispanic roundtable?
Yeah, Alex, so it helps to understand a little bit of context, which is that Donald Trump has made pretty substantial gains with Latino voters in each of the last election cycles that he's participated in, to the point that he's poised actually potentially to cross the 40% support mark among Hispanic voters in November, which would be very significant. It isn't really since George W. Bush that Republicans have seen that level of support from Latino voters. Now, that said, there are a couple of obstacles to him making full use of those gains that he has been making with this demographic. One of them is that the appeal is strongest among sections of that demographic that are low propensity voters, for example, young male Latinos. So there's no guarantee that those people who are expressing support for Trump in polls and in interviews will actually go to the polling places on November 5th. Now, the other thing is that a core part of Trump's rhetoric, brand, ideology, whatever you want to call it, ever since he entered the political scene, has been disparaging, caustic remarks about immigrants, specifically Mexican immigrants, but Latin American immigrants in general. And I've spoken to numerous undecided Hispanic voters in Nevada over the course of this year who have told me that they are intrigued by Trump. They like aspects of his personality. They particularly like his message on the economy and what they remember as his record on the economy when he was in office, but they are turned off by this kind of rhetoric on migrants and immigration. And it's interesting that he's doing this today before an audience of Hispanic business owners and union members, because just yesterday he was in Colorado sort of displaying one of the most sort of unrestrained, let's say, examples of this anti-migrant rhetoric, equating migrants with violence and disorder. Take a listen to some of what he said just yesterday in Aurora, Colorado.
Kamala has imported an army of illegal alien gang members and migrant criminals from the dungeons of the third world, from prisons and jails, insane asylums and mental institutions. And she has had them resettled beautifully into your community to prey upon innocent American citizens.
One way, Alex, that Trump's Hispanic supporters and his surrogates are trying to thread this needle is by telling people who are turned off by that kind of language to not pay attention to what he says, but instead focus on his record in office. That seems to be the main strategy to get that point across. Alex?
Okay, David, thank you so much for that. And to further the conversation, joining me now, we have Democratic strategist and SiriusXM host Amisha Cross and former Secretary to Speaker John Boehner and MSNBC political analyst Brendan Buck. Welcome, guys. I wish you could have seen me as they were playing that soundbite. I was like, what is he saying? I mean, Amisha, Trump goes to Aurora, amplifies his distortions and his lies on immigration. Earlier, he goes to Detroit and insults that city. Why do they think this is a winning formula? I mean, do you think this is going to wear thin by Election Day?
Well, one can only hope. And he thinks it's a winning strategy because the polls still show everything neck and neck. One of the things that we've noticed is that Donald Trump never lessened up on his rhetoric as it related to migrants, but also as it related to essentially criminalizing all beings who are Latino. We've seen this across his social media as well. Just yesterday, he posted an image of young Latino men and called that what was going to happen to your communities if Kamala Harris was in charge of doing anything for housing. He is trying to scare the hell out of people about Black and brown people. That is the crux of his campaign. It is racism. It is some of the most inherent and scary xenophobic things that we've seen in this country. But it is also a playbook out of what we've seen in a lot of regimes that are authoritarian, because annihilating any idea of multiculturalism is a cornerstone of authoritarian regimes. What we've seen time and time again from Donald Trump, not only since he's run for office or held elected office, but long before, when he was a real estate mogul in New York, was his animus towards people of color. He is utilizing that as a landmark for his campaign time and time again. I think the bigger question is why we are still seeing growth political growth amongst the Latino population, leaning towards someone who has shown over and over and over that regardless of where you come from or what you look like, if you are Latino, you are a threat to our communities. You are a threat to America. You are a threat to the very survival of white people. That is what he is doing with this rhetoric. And he doesn't care whether he's spreading it in Aurora or whether he's going to Detroit talking to the largest city in Michigan, which is still a battleground state. And for lack of a better term, crapping on that city. It is very frustrating. It's very difficult to get around. And the fact that he still remains neck and neck in the polls, he's not going to stop because there has not been, up to this date, there has not been a drop off for him in support.
Yeah, I have no answer to the question you posed there as to why. But anyway, Brendan, even the people who invited Trump to Detroit, they weren't happy with his knock on the city. And then there's this constant attack on migrants. Is there a point at all where even his supporters need to hear a more optimistic message?
I hate to say no. Look, I think they are convinced that immigration is a winning issue for them. And so they will do and say anything to make immigration the topic of conversation. That's what Springfield was all about. And J.D. Vance basically said that out loud. But, if I have to draw your attention over here so that you're focused on immigration, I'm going to do whatever I need to do that. They think that that's a winning issue. And frankly, it's a much bigger issue than I think Democrats appreciated for a very long time. And I think it caught up to them. And obviously, Kamala Harris is trying to do everything that she can to demonstrate that she's going to be tough on the border. But look, this is what it comes down to. If we are talking about immigration for the next 3 weeks, that is a very good thing for Donald Trump. If we are talking about abortion or maybe the economy, then Kamala Harris is in a better position. This is all about the sprint for the last 3 weeks. Who is setting the tone? What is the conversation we are having? And he knows, and he is willing to be much more outlandish to control what we talk about. It's what he's done his entire career, and here he is doing it again.
Brendan, there is a new New York Times article, and it suggests that Trump is lashing out behind closed doors over money. Are campaign donations drying up, and how much of a problem does this pose?
I mean, look, he's raised a lot of money, but he's also given a lot of it away to lawyers. The real issue is that Kamala Harris has had a fundraising bonanza, and she's able to go into places that he simply can't. I don't know why he's campaigning in California and New York. If he's concerned about money, they shouldn't be wasting money on events like that. He has really only himself to blame if they're coming up short and they can't expand into states that they want to, or they can't open up the kind of operations that they want to. There's been an incredible amount of mismanagement in that way. The reality is, though, this is more about Kamala Harris and the enthusiasm that she's been able to build, which allows her to now put states like North Carolina in play that we didn't necessarily think were before.
So, Misha, a new Washington Post article suggests that the Harris and Trump camps, they're looking at this race in different ways. Trump says he's winning. The Harris folks being more cautious, saying she could lose. What do you think is behind these two approaches, and do you prefer the caution?
I do prefer the caution, especially for Kamala Harris, because she knows that if polls are to be believed, this is neck and neck. She knows that this is going to be a turnout race, a GOTV, get out the vote race, and it is going to be that up to and through Election Day. She also knows of the demographics that she has to get out, and in large number, in many cases in larger number than Biden got out in 2020. She's ran as the underdog this entire time, which makes sense considering she's had the shortest runway to a presidential election of anybody in American history. But in addition to that, I think that Donald Trump, because he always wants to exude strength, he always wants to exude that he's ahead even when he's not. He is known for his lies and his bombastic nature. For his base, this matters to him. He can never showcase that he may lose, because at that point, it runs against and runs an affront to everything that he stands for and everything that his base believes in. So this exertion of power, of strength, of I'm winning no matter what, he came out of the debate that we roundly saw him lose and told everybody he won that too. This is something that Trump has been known for, and I don't think he's going to walk away from it.
And Amisha, Governor Tim Walz today, he's out pheasant hunting with the media in tow. I mean, this is clearly a campaign strategy, rather unconventional. Is it a good idea? I mean, are there enough voters that this will inspire to vote for the Harris-Walz ticket?
If we believe that America is led by its misogyny, America is led by a belief that a woman does not have the power, the leadership, or the strength to be president, which I do think there is a segment of the American population that is stuck on that. If that is to be believed holistically, having a man on the ticket and a man who is showcasing that he is a man's man and he is out here doing the nature things that are expected from certain segments of the American population, that could be a ticker point. But to the polls you showed earlier, this is going to come down between the economy, reproductive rights, and how people feel about immigration. I don't think that gun toting in any way is going to be the top line of whether or not somebody makes a distinction between voting for Trump or voting for Harris. Like has been said multiple times before, it's the economy, stupid.
Yeah. Brendan, we have the New York Times, which interviewed J.D. Vance this week, and 5 times he refused to say Donald Trump lost. Do they fear they're going to lose more voters if they admit Trump lost than they would if they simply told the truth?
I think they just fear Donald Trump. I think everybody in the Republican Party wants to say out loud, of course, Donald Trump lost in 2020, but as we've now covered extensively, he refuses to ever say he's a loser. And he doesn't want to face that kind of backlash. And it is, I think, incredibly damaging. I thought in the debate with Kamala Harris, the very worst moment for Donald Trump was his 2-minute riff on how he actually won the 2020 election. It just makes him look so small and petty, and he wants to project this image of strength, but it just makes him look totally out to lunch. And it just puts everybody in the Republican Party in this stupid position. I mean, I guess anybody who wants to stay in Trump's good graces, there's not a good answer. J.D. Vance knows very well that Donald Trump lost fair and square, but Donald Trump puts him in this position, and he probably just doesn't want to get his hand slapped.
Yeah. All right. Both of you, please stay with me. Later on, we're going to talk about former President Obama not mincing his words. Is it being received the way Democrats want? But first, coming up, we have the new and the improbable, what we are learning at this hour amid the devastation in Florida. We're back in a short 90 seconds.
Whoa, how'd you get your teeth so white?
You gotta use the right toothpaste.
Dr. C? Not all toothpaste whiten the same.
Crest 3D White removes 100% more stains for a noticeably whiter smile.
New personal best.
Crest.
I knew it. I thought something is different about my man.
It's Blue Chew.
Blue Chew.
Blue Chew?
Blue Chew.
Blue Chew.
Blue Chew. Blue Chew. Blue Chew. You've done it again.
Mopping is hard work. Then I tried the Swiffer Power Mop. It has a built-in solution that breaks down dirt on contact. Plus, its 360-degree swivel head cleans up along baseboards and even behind the toilet. Bye-bye, bucket, with the Swiffer Power Mop.
Spam is not just spam. It's data brokers selling your contact details, browsing history, even social security number. We know it sounds scary, so remove your personal data from data brokers with Incogni. Get the deal and go Incogni now.
Protect against RSV with Arexvy. Arexvy is a vaccine used to prevent lower respiratory disease from RSV in people 60 years and older. Arexvy does not protect everyone and is not for those with severe allergic reactions to its ingredients. Those with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most common side effects are injection site pain, fatigue, muscle pain, headache, and joint pain. Arexvy is #1 in RSV vaccine shots. RSV, make it Arexvy.
Today, major flooding and rescue still happening in Florida days after Hurricane Milton made landfall Wednesday, and isolated storms this weekend threatening to make that problem worse. Officials in Pasco County now recommending voluntary evacuations, and shelters remain open to take people in. Meanwhile, more than 1 million customers are still without power across the state, and at least 17 deaths have been confirmed. Storms like this prompting concerns over the impacts of climate change on future natural disasters. Take a listen to what one climate expert had to say.
So when we talk about climate change and the consequences of increasing emissions, we're seeing it in the disasters that we're seeing. So when we talk about physical risk, some of the things that we're looking at are, increased rainfall in these storms. We're seeing these storms pack more of a punch. We're seeing them with greater force. We're seeing higher inundation, coastal flooding, higher amounts of rainfall falling, which is partly why we're seeing such historic flooding in areas that don't have a lot of flood insurance.
Let's go right now to NBC's Guad Venegas joining us from Pasco County, Florida, where officials are inspecting the impact of the flooding. So, Guad, look, there's still some serious flooding there this weekend. I mean, the picture behind you proves that. What can you tell us?
Alex, there is. You know, the expert was talking about the increased rainfall with climate change. So the research here indicates that they've seen about 5 to 10 times the average amount of rainfall for the month of October already here in this part of Florida. And a lot of that rainfall that came with the last storm, Hurricane Milton, was in areas in the central part of the state. Now, that water has to run off to rivers and lakes and eventually make its way towards the Gulf. And this is what's causing the flooding. We've got these rivers with too much water. They're overflowing, and that water is going into these communities. You can see these houses with a couple of feet of water. All of the water that you can see, it's basically properties and streets that now look like rivers. We took a ride with some of the rescuers that have been patrolling this area, helping some of the customers. Here in Pasco County alone, they said they had about 150 rescues yesterday, and today they are staged in different areas around the county to continue patrolling this area and also look for people that have to be rescued as this flooding continues. Here's part of the conversation that I had with a member of that team.
They're saying that the river's going to probably come back up in the next couple days, whether it's here or further east. But we're probably, after the amount of time that people have been flooded out, they start getting, like you said, low on medicines, low on oxygen. Some of the dangers is mainly the speed of the water and the amount of force that the water pushes. When the river's moving, it can move up to 4,000 pounds per square inch, and you can't fight that as a human.
And Alex, when we think of the flooding, we think about the residents, right? The affected residents, but there are also others that are affected by this that we might not think about. I'll give you an example. This building over here is a pediatrics care clinic. We spoke with a doctor that owns it who said he has children scheduled to come in, babies scheduled to come in and get their vaccines on Monday. And then on Tuesday, of course, many of those appointments have to be canceled. He came in to check on a special fridge that he has where a lot of these vaccines are being held. He wanted to make sure that the temperature is holding so that those vaccines are good. Because, again, he has patients, a lot of newborns and babies that are waiting to come in this week for vaccines. And he says he knows of other doctors who have offices in this area that are also being flooded. So you can look at all the effects from the flooding, doctors' offices, businesses, residents, and this is just Pasco County. Hillsborough County, south of us, also has a lot of flooding. This is just one of the challenges that officials have to deal with after the hurricane here in the Tampa area.
I tell you, the details are just extraordinary. Thank you for sharing that one, particularly Guad Venegas. Appreciate it. New today, the Department of Justice accusing Virginia of illegally removing voters from election rolls just weeks before voting days. A report on what's behind that next.
Spam is not just spam. It's data brokers selling your contact details, browsing history, even social security number. We know it sounds scary, so remove your personal data from data brokers with Incogni. Get the deal and go Incogni now.
At Verizon, every phone can be the new iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence. Wow, phones are going to be flying to Verizon.
Switch to Verizon and get the new iPhone 16 Pro and get a new iPad and Apple One all on us. Only on Verizon.
HomeAglow just cleaned my entire house for $19. Seriously, $19. They showed up right on time and did my dishes, my laundry, they even cleaned my windows. You just pick a date, pick a cleaner, and enjoy a spotless house for $19. I love using HomeAglow, and I think you will too.
I can feel the winds of change.
Attention Medicare beneficiaries. Have both Medicare and Medicaid? Now's the time to explore your options and choose the coverage that's right for you. Choose a Medicare Advantage plan that offers you more benefits at no additional cost. Millions of members turn to WellCare for benefits and services that go beyond original Medicare and help them lead better, healthier lives. Choose a plan with $0 or low monthly plan premiums, co-pays, and deductibles. And with WellCare, you don't just pay less, you get more. More dental with comprehensive coverage, more vision and hearing with an eyewear allowance, plus $0 or low prescription drug copays and free home delivery. Call us at 877-823-8204 to speak to a friendly licensed representative and request a free all-in-one guide. There's no obligation. We're here to help you review your options to see if a WellCare plan is the right decision for you. WellCare has a large network of doctors and specialists. And WellCare Medicare Advantage plans come with this all-in-one WellCare Spendables debit card to use for over-the-counter health items. Get convenient access to care with our telehealth services, including online doctor visits, Twill, a digital mental health and social support resource, and free fitness benefits with online classes. WellCare has a contract with Medicare to provide Medicare Advantage plans. It has been serving those with Medicare Advantage, Medicaid, and prescription drug plans for more than 35 years. Call now. We're here to answer your questions and even assist enrolling you over the phone. Choose the company that puts your health first. WellCare, the coverage you need and more. Call now and get a free copy of our all-in-one guide. 877-823-8204.
I love how light it feels. It's not heavy, it's not cakey. I feel like I'm not wearing any makeup at all. I don't see any other reason to try any other makeup foundation ever.
The Daymaker Pant by Public Rec. More comfortable than jeans, more stylish than sweats. With the Daymakers, you can choose your waist and length sizes to guarantee a perfect fit. Now comfort looks good.
This is a story about the one. The untrained eye may not see the one as extraordinary, but her goals aren't easy. She fixes, she manages, she perfects. She is extraordinary. Because for the one, maintaining this space transports her to this space. The industrial-grade product you need, plus 1 million more. Call, click Grainger.com or stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
New today, Virginia firing back at the Department of Justice, calling a new lawsuit from the DOJ a, quote, desperate attempt to attack the legitimacy of the elections in the Commonwealth. So here's what started all this. The Department of Justice sued Virginia, accusing it of striking names from voter rolls in violation of federal election law. NBC's Gary Grumbach is following all this for us from Washington. Gary, welcome to you. And look, we're just a little over 3 weeks until Election Day. Early voting in Virginia has already begun. So what more can you tell us about this?
Well, it's part of that time crunch that the DOJ says is part of the problem here. There's a provision in what's called the National Voter Registration Act, which is more than 20 years old, certainly not new here, that says there has to be a quiet period 90 days before a federal election for any voter roll challenges that have to take place. And that's a big deal because DOJ is alleging in this lawsuit that Virginia on a daily basis has been violating that provision by comparing U.S. citizen status from DMV records in the Commonwealth of Virginia, which could be out of date, could be incorrect for whatever reason, to their current voter rolls. And the DOJ is alleging that the state has been purging people on a daily basis from that. They use one example from Democratic, really predominantly Democratic Prince William County, Virginia, Northern Virginia, up here near D.C., where 43 of 162 individuals identified were purged from those voter rolls. Some of them, they say, were likely U.S. citizens in the process. And so people who get that alert only have 14 days to fix their problems, say that, yes, I am a U.S. citizen. Some of those folks never get those alerts. So that's why the DOJ is saying this. Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin has come out with a statement calling this politically motivated and calling this election interference. Alex?
Wow, that is extraordinary. Let me ask you quickly about this other news. It's from Washington. Former President Trump is reportedly requesting military aircraft and vehicles in these final weeks of the campaign. What is that about? Image, security, or something else?
I think the answer to that is yes, Alex. But of course, nobody wants to take any chances on either side of the aisle here, right? Especially with what we've seen over the summer. And so the Trump campaign has requested a number of things, and it's military capabilities, right? We're talking about military aircraft, perhaps, to fly Donald Trump around in these final weeks of the campaign. Some military assets, including something that could be like to the Beast, which is what the president drives in whenever he's out and about in the motorcade. So some very high-level things. But, I was at a Trump rally last weekend, and it's already a very high level of United States Secret Service security. They say it's at their maximum level that they can provide exactly what the president gets. We saw 16-wheeler trucks that completely surrounded the venue, so you had no sight line unless you were actually in the venue itself to Donald Trump. And then there was also bulletproof glass that actually blocked really the view of people that were at the rally from really seeing Donald Trump very well, too. So significant increase in security for the former president. Alex.
Okay, thank you for all of that, my friend. Good to see you, Gary. Back with me now, more friends, Amisha Cross and Brendan Buck. So, Amisha, on Tuesday, Kamala Harris is going to sit down with Charlemagne the God on his very popular Breakfast Club radio show. A new New York Times poll confirms other recent surveys that Harris has been losing support among black voters, especially among young men. Let's take a listen to some of former President Obama's pretty stern words at those voters at a Pittsburgh campaign office on Thursday. Here's that.
And you're thinking about sitting out, and you're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses. I've got a problem with that because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly now, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that.
Do you think on-the-fence voters will respond to these pretty blunt, direct words? I mean, what else should Harris be doing to appeal to young black men?
No, I don't think that that is the message that is going to move young black men or black men broadly. What we do know is that black men, in terms of the exit polls that we've seen in election after election, they vote a good 3 to 4 percentage points variance from black women. Black people holistically are the largest body of support for the Democratic Party and have been for some time. So I do think that a lot of this ire is misplaced. It started online and was led by some right wingers, and I think that it has kind of exploded. Are there people who are not necessarily excited about this election cycle? Obviously. And many of those are people who are, still dealing with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic in terms of their personal economy. These are individuals who, and black men are a big part of this, who feel as though they have not seen sizable gains in healthcare. They have not seen sizable gains in housing support. They have not seen sizable gains in things like small business ownership. They want to have a slice of the American pie, an American pie that was literally designed to leave them out. Those people have a very strong, I think, appeal towards the Democratic Party to ask for more. And they've been doing that for a while now. Those voices shouldn't be quelled. But I think that when it comes to turnout, the idea of turnout is not by insulting people. The idea of getting people out is more so showing them how the policies you're pushing for, that opportunity economy, is open to black men, what it actually looks like for them on a daily basis. That is more the argument that needs to be had here than anything else.
And Brendan, Donald Trump has been appearing almost exclusively on shows directed squarely at young male audiences. And these interviews mostly amount to Trump partaking in kind of fraternity house or locker room talk with young right-wing influencers and presenting himself as the ultimate alpha male bro type. Is avoiding traditional media helping Trump? I mean, what do you make of him doubling down on support from young men to get him to the White House?
Yeah, I think it's less avoiding traditional media and it's more playing to his strengths. I mean, they look at polls and they see that young white men really like Donald Trump, and they're going to try to run up the score there. Donald Trump was never made to appeal to the middle. He was never made to try to win over those Nikki Haley voters with his moderation. That's just not who he is. And frankly, I don't think it's that bad a call to say we're not going to try to make Donald Trump somebody that he isn't. But I mean, to bring this all together, Harris is not doing as well with black men. She's just not doing as well with men in general. And I think what was so remarkable about what Barack Obama did there, it wasn't necessarily a message to win them over. It was forcing this conversation, forcing Democrats to recognize that they have a big problem with men. And I'll be honest, I think some of the campaign, or whether it's allied groups, their messaging to men, I think, is just really missing the mark. Tim Walz going off and shooting some pheasants, that's fine and all. But their ads are like, look, if you're man enough, you can support a woman's right to choose. It's sort of like force-feeding that you're a progressive. I think what Barack Obama did on stage at an event recently is much more effective. It's pointing out that Donald Trump is not the strong man you think he is. We've seen that men like strength as a characteristic. And Obama has made the point he's not a strong man. He complains constantly. He's probably the most insecure person in America, and trying to take him down a notch rather than saying strong men support the progressive agenda, I hope that they can figure out pretty soon that what they've been doing with men is not working.
We will see, Amisha and Brendan. I'll see you guys again soon. Thank you. It is the one state that could give us an early hint on election night about the outcome, but there is a hitch.
Okay, ready to watch this? 1 second, I gotta finish my laundry. Jess, it's girls' night. 1 second, I use Rinse. What's Rinse? The company that will pick up, wash, fold, and deliver your laundry and dry cleaning at the touch of a button. I do not trust other people with my laundry. Rinse guarantees your satisfaction. I've been using it for months now with no issues. Okay, let's watch this. Wait, I'm gonna do my laundry. Better hurry. Done. All schedules.
Sign up for Rinse at rinse.com to get $20 off your first order.
Looking for a way to stretch the dollar? With Insurify, you can cut your car insurance bill in half. Scroll through dozens of prices and tap to switch online. That's it. No phone calls and no wasted time. Go to Insurify and save today.
People who have allergies will have lots of problems. If someone's exposed to allergens, they can get rid of those immediately by washing out the nose. Navage works by pulling saline in one nostril, through the nose and out the other nostril, sucking out allergens, mucus, dust, and germs. Experience on-the-spot relief so you could breathe easier, sleep better, feel healthier. If you have seasonal allergies, Navage can help.
Navage, brand new look, same great product.
The Keepsake Frames app makes it ridiculously easy to frame your favorite photos. Just choose a photo that you love, select the perfect frame, and you'll have your framed print delivered and ready to hang. Download the free Keepsake Frames app and start framing today.
Messes happen every day in every way, but who wants to drag out a bulky vacuum? Introducing Horsepower Duck, a super compact vac with ultra-powerful suction. Watch as it effortlessly crushes this large bottle. This is a small but mighty duck, making it quick and easy to clean any mess. Just duck it up. The compact design can reach the tightest places. It's smaller than a water bottle, so store it in any drawer where it's always at your fingertips. Plus, it dumps out with ease, so it's ready to clean again.
I used to have to drag out this huge thing they call a portable vacuum cleaner. Now I keep the duck in my kitchen drawer and I clean up messes in 2 seconds.
The turbocharged motor is engineered to create a powerful vortex of suction, while the HEPA filter helps remove dust and allergens. We attach the duck to this tube, and the powerful suction lifts the water all the way to the top. Clean up that mess in the kitchen, the spill on the sofa, even sawdust and screws in the workshop. Plus, it's rechargeable. Got messy pets? Duck powerfully picks up pet hair from anywhere and cleans around that dish in a flash. You can even store it in your glove box for the ultimate car vac. Clean seats, the floor, and deep into those hard-to-reach places. Other bulky hand vacs sell for up to $150, but get the Horsepower Duck hand vac for just $39.99. Order right now and we'll upgrade you to the Duck Pro package, a $30 value, yours free. You get the bendable tube to get into tough spots like under appliances, the crevice nozzle to reach into those quacks and crevices, and the soft brush nozzle to vacuum gently with no scratches. You'll get the Duck with all the deluxe attachments, but supplies are limited, so there's a strict limit of 3 per order. This may be your last chance to get yours at this low, low price. So don't delay. Duck it up today.
To order, call 1-800-503-5617 or visit duckback.com. So call 1-800-503-5617 or visit duckback.com. Order now.
We've got a juicer and a steam oven, but our favorite appliance is our Aquasana filter. It makes all the water that we drink and cook with cleaner and healthier.
Tastes better too.
Now up to 50% off at aquasana.com.
Hi, I'm Brad Baxter, founder of Whisker and Litter Robot. 25 years ago, I inherited 2 cats and an overflowing litter box. I knew there had to be a better way. I used my background in engineering to develop a system that automates the litter box process using gravity and rotation. The result was Litter Robot, a fully automatic, self-cleaning litter box. 25 years later, we solved the litter box problem for over 1 million pet parents around the world. You'll never scoop again, and your cat will always have a clean bed of litter. Join the Whisker family and try a Litter Robot today.
For years, I was stuck using traditional foundation. They'd always cake or crease in my fine line. That's why I created Bake, Balance, and Brighten, our award-winning foundation for mature skins. You'll love how it feels and how you'll look. Learn more at laurageller.com.
It's a dead heat between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump in North Carolina, a battleground state whose 16 electoral college votes are key to victory. A new Wall Street Journal poll has Trump leading Harris by 1 point there. When third-party candidates are included, they're tied in a head-to-head race. But as the swing state cleans up from Hurricane Helene, both campaigns are contending with the political fallout. This weekend, Harris is making her 19th visit to the state. Tonight, she'll visit with locals at a restaurant in Raleigh. Tomorrow, she'll visit a church and hold a rally in Greenville. Joining me now, Anderson Clayton. She is state chair of the North Carolina Democratic Party. Welcome back. It's good to see you. So, look, I don't have to tell you this race couldn't be tighter in North Carolina. That's according to the polls. Does it feel that close on the ground there?
Well, Alex, thanks for having us. And we do feel like the race is extremely close here in the state. We're not taking one single vote for granted, which is why we've been out knocking doors every single weekend for the election cycle that's coming up. And if you're in North Carolina and you're questioning, how do you get access to your ballot, especially with the hurricane that we've had come through in the western part of the State Board of Elections has set up a website that you can go to, ncsbe.gov/Helene, and be able to help access polling locations across the counties that have been impacted in our state.
Give me a sense of how the cleanup from Helene has impacted the campaign efforts.
Well, we know we've seen an extremely politicized national approach to this from the Trump campaign. But what we know here on the ground in North Carolina is that Republican and Democratic elected officials have been coming together across the state to make sure that everybody is putting their heart and soul into making sure that Western North Carolina gets the relief that it needs after this devastation. Governor Cooper just signed the bill into law yesterday from the Republicans and Democrats in our state legislature that passed over $275 million to go into relief efforts for the western part of North Carolina right now.
We have, over 1 million voters or so that live in the hardest hit area by Helene, many of whom are unaffiliated with any party. Is the election the last thing on their minds right now? And how does that complicate the vote count when all is said and done?
Well, we know that people that have been impacted in a way that it's indescribable right now. I mean, folks have lost family members, and our hearts and souls are just with the people right now who voting is the last thing on their mind, right? When you think about the tragedy that struck places like Burnsville and Spruce Pine, Mitchell County alone lost its entire water supply. And the rehabilitation process for that could be up to 4 years for a water treatment plant in Mitchell County alone. And so, the devastation from that is something that we are trying to make sure that folks don't forget about, something else that is their constitutional right, which is the right to vote. And so our county parties in Western North Carolina have resorted to a wellness check voter operation in the state, making sure that people are first and foremost okay, that they have what they need, but then also helping educate folks about whether or not their polling locations have changed in Western North Carolina, because the State Board of Elections has allowed the county boards in the 25 affected counties in Western North Carolina to be able to expand polling locations and sites for early voting and Election Day, which obviously starts October the 17th here in North Carolina for early vote.
I'm going to say that's Thursday, right? So you've talked about the logistical challenges there and what you're trying to do to amend all that. But what do you expect in terms of voter turnout with early voting?
We have full confidence in our state board and our county boards of elections that they're going to do everything they can. But, we don't know. And that's something that, you never understand with a national tragedy like this or a natural disaster like this, what the ramifications are going to be until November. And so we are just trying to make sure that everybody understands what their rights are, that they have access to the resources that they need. Folks right now can go in and request mail-in ballots in person at any Board of Elections office that's in the 25 disaffected counties right now in North Carolina. And so making sure that people know their rights going into vote this year is so important. If you've been displaced in a county that you may not be able to get back to the county that you originally lived in those 25 that have been under this state law, basically what it allows for is you to vote in the county that you reside in, and then the ability for you to actually have your ballot transferred back to the local county that you live in right now. It can be complicated, which is why we tell everybody ncsbe.gov/Helene will give you every bit of answers to your questions that you may have for particular counties in North Carolina. And the state party also has a voter protection hotline that anyone can call or text at any point in time.
But here's the bottom line. North Carolina is a swing state. It is a very important state this year. It's on East Coast time. How long do you think it's going to take to tally all the votes in that state? Do you have any sort of a time frame as when you expect the final results?
Well, we are not really sure right now what this could do to honestly votes coming in at that last minute. But we do know that every single mail-in ballot has got to be given back to the state board or the county board that you're within that election day deadline of 7:30 p.m. And so we fully expect North Carolina to be counted that evening. Some of the local races down the ballot are the ones that are going to be more affected because, as you heard me say earlier, you can vote in counties that are not the county that you lived in if you were part of the 25 that are disaffected in North Carolina right now. And so some of the closer down ballot races are ones that we're going to have to monitor closely. But we do expect this election to be called on election night in North Carolina. And we do expect Kamala Harris to be victorious in our state. She's been traveling around the entire part of it, as you just said earlier. And so we're excited to have her in Eastern North Carolina and Greenville this weekend.
19th visit to the state, indeed. Anderson Clayton, best of luck. You've got quite a task ahead of you, and I know you're up to it for the next 3 weeks. Thank you so much. A stark message you may have missed this week from voices within the Trump administration at one time, and why it dovetails with a new article, The Moment of Truth.
Our right to reproductive health care is being stolen from us. The rights for ourselves, our kids, and our grandkids, gone just like that.
I can't believe this is the world we live in, where we're losing the freedom to control our own bodies.
Planned Parenthood fights for you every day, but we need your support now more than ever. Visit this website, call, or scan the code on your screen with your $19 monthly gift. Help us win the fight for the constitutional right to control our own bodies. There's never been a more urgent time to join. So go online, call, or scan this code now. Sign up with your monthly gift today, and we'll send you this Care No Matter What t-shirt.
It is your right to have safe health care. That's it.
We need you now more than ever. Go online, call, or scan right now.
Without Easter seals, my Luke would be a very different Luke.
Look up. Where are you going?
There's an incredible urgency to get your child into services because the longer you wait, these motor pathways are set in stone. I knew he needed help. He needed these services.
I'm almost there. Yes, you are. You're so close. You're so strong. I'm gonna say hi. Okay, let's say hi.
None of my friends or people in our network have a child with these needs. And then you go to Easter seals, and it's such a good feeling to feel like you're in good hands. They really understand what you're going through.
At one point, I wasn't able to walk or ride my bike. The little things that other people take for granted that I need help with, sometimes those are hard because you don't want help, but you need it.
But children can't get the help they need without support from people like you. Go online, call this number, or scan this code and donate. Just $19 a month.
These children deserve access to care and they need help. And if the funding's not there, it's hard to reach every single family.
So please visit this website, call or scan now. It's just 63 cents a day to provide life-changing services to these children.
You are literally creating an opportunity for this child to grow and to be an independent, successful adult.
Join now, and we'll send you this one-of-a-kind t-shirt with our heartfelt thanks.
To reach into your heart and see what your donation can do for these kids.
It really does make a difference. You're helping kids leaving themselves.
Go online, call or scan now to change a child's life forever.
Only Purple's Gel Flex Grid passes the raw egg test. No other mattress cradles your body and simultaneously supports your spine. Memory foam doesn't come close. Get your best sleep, guaranteed. Visit purple.com or a store near you.
Hey, Scott, this stuff's perfect for fall, right?
Yep, it feeds your lawn now to strengthen roots all winter for a better lawn next spring.
How do you know all this?
Says it right there on the back.
Yes, it does.
Download the My Lawn app today for lawn care tips and customized plans.
Feed it, lawn. Feed it.
His own vice president is not supporting him. Multiple former chiefs of staff, former national security advisors, multiple former Department of Defense heads, chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, his White House comms director, deputy press secretary, another White House comms director. The list goes on. All of us who saw him up close and personal as president in some of the senior most roles and the most consequential roles are the people saying he should be nowhere near the Oval Office.
That is former Trump White House staffer Alyssa Farah Griffin campaigning against Donald Trump in Pennsylvania this week. Her former colleagues, Cassidy Hutchinson and Sarah Matthews, also joined that panel. So, with just 24 days to Election Day, the moment of truth is almost here. In the new cover story of The Atlantic magazine, writer Tom Nichols argues the re-election of Donald Trump would mark the end of George Washington's vision for the presidency and the United States. And Tom Nichols is joining me right now. He is a staff writer with The Atlantic and former professor at the U.S. Naval War College. Tom, welcome back to the broadcast. Look, we have been hearing warnings repeatedly about this election being the most consequential. And you make the case that as the first president, George Washington set a high standard of character against which all presidents are now measured. But since then, we've had certainly more than one scoundrel in the White House. So what is different about Trump? Why would his reelection tank Washington's entire vision?
It's such a great question because the other men who've served as president, some of them really were, they were scoundrels and moral weaklings. But you could measure them all along the same scale, the same yardstick that Washington set. As I say in the piece, even Richard Nixon, at the moment of his truth, chose not to rally his base against impeachment, wrote a resignation letter, left public life, and a noble act compared to Trump thumbing his nose at 2 impeachments and then still claiming that any election he doesn't win is rigged. I think the difference with Trump is that he's hostile to the entire system. He's not coloring outside the lines. He's not bending the rules. He doesn't care about any of this. He is completely wrapped up in his own interests, his own narcissistic needs, his own corruption. We've never had anybody like him in the Oval Office, and this time, he's learned his lessons. He's going to bring people with him that are not Alyssa Farah Griffin or Rex Tillerson or James Mattis or any of these other people. He's going to bring people that are going to do exactly what he tells them to do, and he's going to dare every institution and the voters and the people of the United States to stop him. And it's going to be a lot more difficult this time. So it's not the same yardstick. He's throwing that out. This is a play for authoritarian power that we've never seen in an American election before.
The latest polling from the Wall Street Journal shows not just the dead heat. It also shows 6% of registered voters in battleground states are still undecided. How do you account for Trump still within striking distance in spite of all those who are not voting for him?
Because there are millions of Americans who simply just don't take this election seriously and don't take most elections seriously. I mean, I'm sorry, if you're a Jill Stein voter, you're not a serious voter. You're not really, or for that matter, a Robert Kennedy voter. You're not really thinking about what's best for the country. You're thinking about making a statement or what you think would be fun. And I think that there are also millions of people who just cannot get their heads around how bad Donald Trump is and how much worse he's going to be, because they still think of this as some kind of ongoing reality TV show that they want to renew for another 4 years because they're just so curious to see what happens. And I think finally you have a group of people who just think that any candidate who seems to make millions of other Americans uncomfortable must be doing something right. They're not voting for something. They're not voting because of some policy. I mean, one of the things that's really striking about Trump voters is how much they don't care about policy. They're voting to see if they can discomfort and anger other Americans for their own kind of internal reason. And you can't really reason with people like that. I mean, Harris is behind with a lot of those folks, and I would argue there's not much she can do about it, which is why she has to turn out everybody else rather than try to convert those kinds of voters.
You quoted a historian saying Washington proved that his truest allegiance was to the republic by voluntarily surrendering power. It was the first of many peaceful transfers of power in the unprecedented American experiment. But I want to play a bit of what Trump eventually said to his supporters who had stormed the Capitol on January 6th, 2021. And then
that they have every right to rebel against the government because they can't, because in Donald Trump's world, no election he loses could possibly have been a fair American election.
extraordinary. It is the cover story, everyone, in the Atlantic magazine. I suggest all of you read it. Tom Nichols, thank you so much for your time. Good to see you. Some questions and answers from the vice president's media stop at a Spanish language network. I'll talk with someone who was there with her in the next hour.
Who's coming in the driveway? Goodness.
My daughter is being treated for leukemia. I hope that she lives a long, great, happy life and that she will never forget how Mom and Daddy love her. St. Jude, I mean, this is what's keeping my baby girl alive.
You can join the battle to save lives by supporting St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. For just $19 a month, you'll help us continue the life-saving research and treatment these kids need now and in the future.
Cancer makes me feel angry, like not in the, feel on the outside, just the inside I'm angry at.
When your kid is hurting and there's nothing you can do about it, that's the worst feeling in the world.
1 in 5 children diagnosed with cancer in the U.S. will not survive.
Those that donate to St. Jude, I hope that you will continue to give. They have done so much for me and my family.
Join with your credit or debit card for only $19 a month, and we'll send you this St. Jude t-shirt. Or for a limited time only, join for $39 a month to receive this exclusive St. Jude jacket you can proudly wear to show your support.
You ready to go have some fun? Yeah!
When we came here, we didn't know what tomorrow would hold. St. Jude showed us that tomorrow there's hope for our little girl to survive.
Let's cure childhood cancer together. Please donate now.
Water line broke. Replacing could cost thousands. Not covered by homeowners insurance.
Honey, wake up. Here's Tom Rusin, CEO of HomeServe.
A plan from HomeServe pays for the covered repair cost for water lines, and we send a qualified contractor. The American dream of owning a home doesn't need to be a nightmare. Sleep well with HomeServe.
Plans from HomeServe start at just $7.99 a month.
Call 1-800-355-9395 or visit homeserve.com.
I love how light it feels. It's not heavy, it's not cakey. I feel like I'm not wearing any makeup at all. I don't see any other reason to try any other makeup foundation ever.
Do you have a box of videotapes, film reels, or photos that are degrading? Legacy Box professionally converts them to DVDs, thumb drive, or the cloud. Legacy Box is simple and safe, with over 1 million satisfied customers. Visit legacybox.com today and get 50% off.
At the top of the hour, a very good day to all of you from NBC News here in Los Angeles. Welcome, everyone, to Alex Witt Reports. It is 3 p.m. on the East Coast, high noon here out west. And we begin this hour with Decision 2024, 24 days to Election Day, and voters already casting mail-in ballots and early voting ballots. More than 4 million votes, in fact, tallied so far. New polls today show Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump in dead heats in battleground Arizona and Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania voters say their top issues are the economy, abortion, immigration, democracy, as well as inflation. One Harris campaign co-chair says young voters will play a key role.
We know that the cost of housing is very expensive. We have heard this from young people really wanting to be able to buy new homes. But we know that we have a plan, not a concept of a plan, but we have a plan that would allow you to have 20